From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Owls are symbols of wisdom and heroes of literature, from Greek mythology to Harry Potter. But a leading conservation agency says owls are in trouble along Colorado's Front Range. Owls are losing critical habitat as cities and suburban areas expand. The Bird Conservancy of the Rockies recently launched what it's calling the Urban Owl Nest Box program. It's an unusual project that asks Front Range residents to create nesting spaces for screech owls in their backyards. Marian Clement is a senior avian ecologist with the Bird Conservancy. She joined me back in October to talk about the new program and why the Bird Conservancy decided it's urgent to focus on helping out these nocturnal birds. We're listening back to that conversation today. Marian, before the show, you mentioned to me that you're a pretty big fan of owls, not just professionally as an avian scientist. What fascinates you about owls?
Yeah, Erin, I'm really lucky to have a job working on exactly what I'm passionate about. I love owls for the same reason that a lot of other people love owls. They're extremely charismatic. They inspire a sense of wonder in people. Why that is, I'm not sure. Certainly their appearance with their large head, their large eyes with these beautiful long eyelashes. But another part of it is that they're rarely seen. And so when people do come across an owl, they're really excited. They want to tell all their friends, their family members. Even if they don't know anything about that owl, it's just like a magical experience for them. And so, yeah, they're just great ambassadors and like a great way for people to connect to nature and their backyard wildlife.
Talk a bit about why the Bird Conservancy is launching this urban owl program. Why is it a priority to build more nests for owls and eastern screech owls in particular?
As more and more of us are on this planet, we have a footprint with our housing density and commercial spaces. And so we're losing habitat for wildlife that was there before, and finding ways to create habitat within those urban spaces is really important if we're going to continue to see population growth in the future. So eastern screech owls came to mind for a number of reasons. We have a history as an organization of monitoring eastern screech owls within Fort Collins. We have a partnership with the city to do that. In addition to that, they're a common urban owl, but they're not fully resilient. So there's evidence that they might be declining. And so investigating, why that is, why they're doing well in certain spaces and not so much in other spaces can teach us how we can continue to have these wonderful creatures in the future, and whether or not there's any management actions on the ground that we can do to help them along.
So you're focusing on the eastern screech owl with this nest box project, and they sound a little bit like this. Honestly, I think I was listening to a horse, not an owl, when I hear that sound. But could you talk about what an ideal nest for an eastern screech owl looks like in the wild? Where do they like to make their homes?
Yeah, so eastern screech owls are what's called cavity nesting owls. So their nest site is always going to be basically a hole in typically a tree. So that those holes can occur naturally through, disease or pest infestations in the tree, or just limbs breaking off, or they can be excavated by larger woodpeckers like our northern flickers. And so the eastern screech owls, just like many other owls, they don't build nests. And so they just kind of adopt what's there. And so they fly around looking for holes in the trees and find one that's large enough to accommodate its young and themselves as well.
So a nest box then would ideally sort of recreate that natural cavity. What do the boxes look like?
Yeah, so the boxes are just made out of pine. They're unpainted to kind of match that camouflage that they would naturally have in the wild. They are built so that, it can fit. Eastern screech owls can have up to 6 chicks, for example, if they're really successful. So think about, 6 chicks plus an adult. It's a lot of space.
And the idea is then that members of the community sign up to get a nest box from the Bird Conservancy and put it up on their property. How quickly can I expect an owl to take up residence in my backyard once I have that nest box?
Yeah, I wish I had that magic answer for you. It really depends on a number of things. Seasonality of when the box is placed is really important because those screech owls are going to start looking for places to nest in the late winter and very early spring. And so getting it up in the fall or early winter is really great if you want to have nesting owls the following year. Of course, if there's very few or no owls in your neighborhood, it might take a while before it gets found by a wandering owl. But if you already have owls nesting in your neighborhood that are producing young, then those young the following year are going to be looking for places to nest and might find your nest box really wonderful.
They're looking to move out
Yeah.
from home. So why might we want to have owls around the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's something that people are really excited about. They get to just watch this little history right in their backyard of just birds coming in and out with rodents and, their young are really cute. So other than that amazing experience, it's also great rodent control. An eastern screech owl can eat about 3 mice a day. And so if you think about, 2 adults and 3 chicks, that's about 15 mice a day that's taken from the landscape. So if you're like me and you have chickens and you have big rodent issues in your backyard, then, an eastern screech owl might be really great to have.
Marian, could you look forward a year or two? What does success look like for this project?
Yeah, success can be looked at in a number of ways. Of course, there's the number of boxes that are actually occupied by eastern screech owls. Success is also how many people we've been able to reach out to through this project. How many people are participating, are engaged with the work. And then for me, probably the most important part of success is changing people's hearts and how they prioritize their backyard wildlife.
I have to mention I was surprised by how the screech owl does not make the typical kind of like whoo sound that I associate with owls. Can you talk about that?
There's so many misnomers like that. Eastern screech owls don't really screech either.
No.
They make more of a whinny sound. We've got our hooting owls, we've got our tooting owls, we got our whistling owls. There's so many different vocalizations that owl species make. And yeah, the screech owl is a surprising one. I don't know who named it, but I have some beef with them.
Exactly. You kind of get prepared for something really awful sounding.
Yeah.
And then it's very pleasant.
It's very pleasant.
Like a horse.
Yeah.
Marian Clement is with the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies, a northern Colorado organization that's focused on conservation of birds and their habitats. She talked with me about the group's Urban Owl Nest Box program, which launched in November. You can see some photos of owls and learn more about the Urban Owl program in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.